Dockhouse Rugby Show is proudly sponsored by Autism Friendly Caravans Blackpool, where every day there is a new adventure. Welcome to another episode of the Dockhouse Rugby Show. Today we're joined by Leigh Centurions owner. It's Mr. Derek Beaumont. Welcome to the show, Derek.
Hi guys, all right?
Welcome to the show. I just wanted to dig a little bit into what it was like to be a chairman of a rugby league football club. So before we get into that, just try and share some of your initial experiences of rugby league. What's your earliest memories?
Well, it goes back, it was a school. I mean, I was always, I was brought up in Little Alton, single parent, two brothers, bit rough and tough and tumble, and that's kind of what rugby is, eh? So at school, it was the kind of thing what I looked for and got involved in, and just that kind of sort of like toughness, the teacher sort of took a shine to me, and I was sort of a big part of the school team. So I suppose really the most significant part from then that sticks in my mind was playing in a competition for the school, St Gabriel's up at Irefold. And we played on what was the training pitch. So now at the side of Hilton Park, where the B&Q is, that used to actually be a training pitch, you guys might remember. And I was gutted because we lost in the first round, but we played on the training pitch, so I never actually got to play in the main Hilton Park Stadium. But bizarrely enough, that guy was, he was I can remember his name, Mr. Kane. He was actually a Saints fan. So actually, truth be told, probably that's where my first real support of rugby was directed towards, if I'm honest. I moved to Leigh from Little Alton, and then obviously, it became about Leigh, but we drew a red V on the white PE top. I felt it didn't go down well with the old Queen, but yeah, it was my first involvement, and then I carried on playing through into senior school at St Mary's, and then moved to Lowton High School. That wasn't really a rugby kind of school. I played one game with them and they got absolutely hammered, and I thought, that's not for me. And then I toured France with St Mary's in the last year, even though I hadn't been in that school for 2 years. The PE teacher got in touch with me to go, and I ended up having a big whack on that finger. It was pointing the wrong way down. Had an op in France. It was in a cast for however long, and that was the end of me in terms of playing it.
Well, I toured France as a schoolboy as well, so some great memories of being out there. So when you talk about growing up, and like you say, original influences was to be a Saints fan. Who were your rugby league heroes then as a child, Derek?
So really for me it was about Leigh. I never ever went and watched St Helens. So obviously you see what rugby you saw back then. It was like, your BBC and stuff, mainly your Challenge Cup is the kind of memories that stick with me most from back in them days. But for me, I played hooker. And so I used to love Kevin Ashcroft. He's a tough, hard, out and out legend. He worked for me for some time as well. Desi Drummond, John Woods, just the flair of Desi and the way he whacked people and tackled them. So as I was young, they was the sort of influences. So I used to love just making my brother run at me so I could try and tackle him like Desi tackled. And Woody was just sheer class. He'd be behind the sticks in Hilton Park, and all of a sudden he'd be under him, and it's like, where's he just come from? He just appeared there like he glided. So they were the big players. And then, your Andy Greggs and the likes, if you start looking at Great Britain and some of those games, and even, players like Martin Afire and Ellery Hanley, just quality players that, Bobby Goulding, even, so it was just the players that was creating the spark that kind of attracted you and made the game entertaining.
I remember playing against John Woods, in fact, at Watershed Inns in an A-team game. Yeah. And it was a big name even then, and I was thinking to myself, you know what, I'd like to put a shot on him, because if my career ends now, at least I can go to the pub and tell everyone I put a shot on John Woods.
What would it?
I didn't get anywhere near him, absolutely nowhere near him. He controlled the game. We got thrashed, and he walked off, and there wasn't a piece of mud on him or dirt or nothing. He could have been in a jacket. He was amazing on that day, and he had a great career. But you could see why when you're on the pitch with him close up.
Yeah, and do you know what? He's a top bloke as well. So I wish he'd got into the club more than we do, you know. But he's got his grandkids and stuff now, and but he's still, you know, he's still a good supporter of the club. We've got a statue outside the place, so you know you can't get anything more than that. But yeah, he was
tackling that statue. Then there would have been.
You can go and tackle that.
Put a top on it. Send me the postcode. We'll film it.
Dave finally gets his chance to tackle Woodsy.
30 years later.
Yeah, get that footage on your show tackling a bronze statue. That'll be your shoulder good.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So you went through all that, and at some stage you must have thought, you know what, I'm going to be a chairman of a rugby league club. So what took you from playing rugby league to then deciding to be a chairman? What was the gap in between there?
So basically what happened there was when I'd stopped playing, like young lads do, you get into, you know, I sillily got into smoking, and, you know, you're drinking the old bottle of Merrydown and making a snake bite with a can of Skull. And
tell the ruin of many a good man.
and it doesn't mix well with trying to be any kind of athlete. And truth be told, down in France, I mean, you said yourself there, you toured France, the big guys. I mean, I wasn't big, you know, I played hooker, I was shorter. I kind of just developed late after I'd left school, if I'm honest. So, truth be told, we got whacked, you know, and I thought to myself, you know, is this really what I want to do? You know, I'd had that time out of it. And I didn't even watch rugby then, if I'm honest with you. I kind of like just completely fell away from it. And my old queen had a pub in Tilsley, and I was in there one Sunday, you know, for the afternoon session, and this guy, Mark Waywell, walked in with a Leigh shirt on, and I was like, "Oh, were you off?" And he went, "I'm going watching the game." And I said, "Oh, can I come with you?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course you can." So we jumped in a taxi, went down, and I got back watching it. Then, you know, so you get like a bit of affiliation kind of back, enjoy going, a couple of beers, the atmosphere and so on. But how it came about really was I opened a company called AB Windows in Leigh back in, I think it was like 1999 or something like that. And I was like, who can we get to do the opening? You know, what is it? Who is there in Leigh that's going to do it? And really, it's only got its rugby club, and, you know, the rugby players are the stars of the time. So at the time, Kevin Ashcroft was a commercial manager. I didn't know that. I rang up, got put through to him, and he said, "Yeah, we'll send a couple of players down to open it and do a bit of PR for you. Would you sponsor the game the following day? Bring some of your customers along." They didn't have a main match sponsor for the game. I can't remember who they played, but that then kind of got me involved again, watching, but more in a sponsor's sort of role. And then it was just, you know, when you're a fan of something and you're in a position where you can help a little bit more, I ended up going on the shirt, on the sleeves. And then it just came about where there was an opportunity to kind of take it over. And at that time, I didn't have that personal wealth to do that on my own. So we established a consortium, and I got 10 people with 25k each, rather than one man with 250k. And we moved it forward. Myself, Phil Coffey, and Steve Blakely became like an executive board of 3 within the 10 to kind of make decisions. So we didn't have an out-and-out chairman as such back then, but I was probably more of kind of the face of it, if you will. And yeah, that then got me involved in that side of it. And I pulled out of there in 2005 when we got in Superleague. I was putting all my time, effort and energy into that, and the business was suffering significantly as a consequence. And I took a back step and handed my shares and my director's loans to the late Arthur Thomas. And his son was on the board representing him because he was at St. Helens, you'll probably recall, on the board there. Great bloke. And he kind of, if you will, he used to bring me every afternoon, you know, how's it going, what are you doing? Are you doing this, doing that? You know, kind of like almost sort of mentoring, you know. And the deal was, basically, it was an handshake and a you know, a handover of a certain sum of money. Wasn't anything like the value of the shares or the directors' loans that I wrote off, so that he could take the club forward, because ultimately that's what I wanted to happen. And he put quite a lot of money in during a period where there was no promotion and he couldn't get anything from it. And the deal was, if he ever got himself in a position where the club became a burden to him or his family, I would take it back if I was in a position to do so, on exactly the same trade that we did back in 2005. And unfortunately, he passed away in, I think, early 2013. And true to his word, his son rang me up and said, my dad's told me this. Is this right? The club was struggling, couldn't pay the wages and stuff. And we did the deal and reversed it. So I ended up back there earlier than I wanted to. And now, having put more than he put in that period of time, in a shorter period, just chasing it. So, yeah, but technically, Mike Laven's actually our chairman. I've never ever had the title chairman in both times I've been at the club. It's always been somebody else that's the chairman. I think I've probably been a bit, obviously mature with age. I'm 51 now. But when I was 30, when we first got involved, I was a bit more of a fan and probably not as sensible on as that side of it. So I wouldn't have wanted to be seen as the chairman because of how I'd be as a fan. And I've kind of always wanted to be able to have that fan status, and never really seen myself as the type of person that would be the figurehead in the chairman capacity. So Mike Laden, who is the chairman, he's also our historian, he's an accountant, he's a great bloke, and it's the right image, in my opinion, for our club to be chairman.
So the right skill set. So different people, different skill sets, bringing something different to the organisation.
Yeah, we have like an operational board. So I'm the only official director, and I'm the majority shareholder. There's a lot of piecemeal shares from what went on before I got back involved. But the operational board is like so important, because you've got myself there and what I'm good at. You've got Neil Dukes there, who's obviously been a coach, a player and a coach, and coached for over 10 years at the club, coached in and out of Superleague. So he understands it and the mechanics of the rugby club on all of those aspects. You've got Karen Roberts, who was at the RFL for many years. She was also at Warrington. So, a good individual rounded there. Mike Latham, as I say, is an accountant, he's an historian, he's a media person, he's an author. He's incredible, the work that he does for the club. It's just absolutely incredible. He writes all the obituaries, anything. He's done all the heritage numbers. It's significant, and he does all the numbers that matter on the finance side, preparing the accounts. And then we've got a lovely lady, Jill Wood, who's really good on commercial. She runs like a company that puts events on and things. So we've got a really skilled board that doesn't cost any money, which if you had to pay those people, it would affect massively what we had on the pitch. So they're a big component of the success of the club.
That's interesting. I mean, that's an extra insight I hadn't seen or thought of before. You need those skills, and if you had to pay for them, to bring those high quality professionals in, the salaries would be quite large, I suspect. So, it sounds as though it's evolved into this position, and the club have, and they're doing quite well at the moment. It sounds very successful, certainly on the pitch. So, can you give us an insight into how a typical week looks like for yourself at the club? So, come Monday morning after you've played the weekend, how do you get involved first thing Monday morning, or do you go to work and then on an evening have a chat to the coaches? How does it look?
One word: chaos. That's my Monday morning. First of all, it starts with a bad head, because rugby goes with a few beers, as I'm sure it does for you guys. So if we play on a Sunday, winning beer and losing beer is the same beer, eh? So you're either drowning your sorrows or celebrating your success. So, I do like a few beers. So Mondays are always a little bit phased. So I don't have, we're not a club that has weekly or fortnightly board meetings. So what we do is we run the business as it needs running, and we respond to things, and we try and be proactive as well where we can. So we only have a small staff operationally in the actual club paid employees, and we take a lot of responsibility on ourselves. So I do generally oversee a lot of aspects, and so I'll receive calls, and we have obviously WhatsApp groups for different aspects. So I've got a rugby serious group, which is for recruitment, which has just been me, Dukesy and Chris Chester. And then we've got the club operational board group. And then everybody has access direct to me if they need to, whether it's a media person, commercial person, whatever, if they want an idea back or an answer. So this, a typical thing would be this Monday morning, Josh Charnley's signed some inquiries for sponsorship. What value do we put to it because we're partway through the season? Where does he fit, A, B, or C? You know, so it's just simple things. And so there's no, I don't manage my time where I say I'll only deal with the club on those areas of the day or those days of the week. So it's pretty much fluid, depending on what's going on. And believe it or not, the most difficult time is actually during the off season. Once the season's going, it tends to be less. This year's been pretty busy insofar as we've been building the recruitment as we've gone. It's been a process to get to where we are, and then the process of now building for next year. So there's quite a bit been going on behind the scenes. So in terms of getting involved in the rugby side of it, I spoke to Lammy today, but I don't speak to him too often. When I was head of rugby, I would be more involved in that side of things. Chris Chester's doing a great job linking between me and Dukesy and Lammy and all the rugby side and the players, and dealing with all that aspects of it. So I've never, with any coach that I've ever had at my club, ever had any involvement in picking the team, in, you know, who we should sign or we're not going to sign. Anything in that regard, how the team will play, how it will defend, anything like that. Nothing whatsoever. That's left to the coach's devices 100%. So all I do is support financially and support however I can. So if I get offered a player from an agent or whatever, I'll flip it on the group. It's ultimately the coach's decision whether or not he wants him or he doesn't want him, or who he goes for. So Adrian will get me involved, meeting the kind of players that we're trying to bring to the club now and where we're trying to build to. There's some, you know, significant quality needed to achieve what we want to achieve, and he's the kind of person who can attract that. And he sees it important for me to be part of that meeting, just in terms of selling the club, the vision, what we're doing, and so on and so forth. So it's just whatever involvements are needed. The biggest one is the financial input, which this year in particular is significant.
Yeah, I mean, you've grown such a top quality squad. Has there ever been a player that you've really fancied and you think, this is a cracking player, agents brought them to me, and the coaching staff haven't really liked, and you've been a bit gutted?
Probably not. I mean, we've been so close to some, you know, like Jared Hayne was one, it was done. And then just ended up not coming off. Ben Barber, you know, there's been a few, you know, really sort of close things. So it would always, I kind of guess that even if it's a player that I don't think is going to fit is anywhere, you know, with, I don't sound really good enough, but I don't think it's going to add value to our squad, I'll still put that forward because it's not my decision to make. So they'll then say, you know, Chesney will just put back and you're kidding, aren't you? But yeah, they know I'm just putting it forward. So I'll give an opinion and stuff. So I haven't ever put something forward and said, you know, who I've thought, wow, and then they've not actually come back and said, yeah, let's try and get in. And there's plenty of players we've tried to get and missed them. You know, it obviously happens. And it's a tough gig where you are when you're in the championship and that uncertainty, because as much as we sit in a good place at the moment, it's still far from over. and injuries and certain things happen and things change, and bounce of the ball, errors from players, errors from officials, it can just all change. So the difficulty has always been, biggest part of a club is recruitment. 100%. It's the most important part of the job. And if you can get that right and get the right people to your club, then you can be successful. But if you wait till the end of the year when you're in Super League, then the supermarket shelves have already, been taken and it's too late. And that's why each time we've got up, we've come straight back down, to loose up, back down. The mould's not going to break unless you manage to get Super League players to play for you in the Championship, pay them the Super League wages, and then go up with a team that's ready-made. And that's what we're attempting this time around.
And that must be a really difficult task, because like you said, that's a hefty bill, wage bill to be substantiating throughout a Championship season. But that's the kind of farming that you're saying that you have to do in order to stop being a yo-yo. Really, you'll go up and then come down if not. And ideally, it would be good if probably they got rid of relegation. Once you're up, you get at least a couple of seasons in, then to build on that foundation.
Yeah, I mean that's what's been the bugbear, because if you add that safety net at least for a year, then you can do your recruiting. You can see what you can be about. Our big factor that we have is in attracting players is our facility. We've got a great stadium, a fantastic playing surface. Everything's on site: swimming pool, gym, athletics track, 4G, replica grass pitch the same size as our indoor pitch outside. So we've got absolutely fantastic facilities. There's a hotel on site, there's a supermarket on site, everything. You've even got a pub on site. So who support us with breakfast for the lads after team run of the week. So it's good when you're selling your club to attract a player that you have all of that. And your biggest salespeople, as much as that's my forte, are your actual players, because they can attract and recruit other players to come and play with them by saying how good it is and how much they're enjoying it. So, that's the big component. But without the money, and I suppose we'll get onto it when we talk about structure, but without having the money to put in, so I guess the decision was, I knew how much it would cost me this year. And my challenge to our team was, and to Chesney and Lamit, was, when we spoke at the beginning of the season to the group and they set their standards and their culture, was provide the best outward example of professionalism of our club, because there's been years when we've had tags of being a grubby team, a dirty team, not well disciplined, and not had the best image as a club. That I don't think, I'm happy to say that, I don't think it's befitted what we genuinely are. A lot of people have the wrong opinion, impression, perception of me when they've never met me. And so I wanted to try and change that. And that was the first thing. And I think they've done a fantastic job of doing that. And then the second thing was for them to give me the confidence by recruitment time, May, June, which I think is too early for clubs to have to start dealing with, that I would have the belief in them that they could achieve what we'd set out to achieve, which was to get into Super League. So I could then, as I say, nothing's for certain, but I could then feel confident enough to be brave enough to do the recruitment of them and any others early in the piece when everybody else is doing it. And again, I felt that they definitely achieved that. So I pressed the green button a few weeks back on that. And Josh was done a while ago for his 2-year deal at the end of the year, but you would never announce that because it would be rude to Warrington and it would be rude to our players as well. So that would have only come out at the end of the year, but then because there's an opportunity for him to come now, and that's been done, then obviously it all becomes announced. So that process started early, and the risk to that was that this year we get 180,000 central funding. In Super League, you get 1.5 million. So essentially, there's what I'm putting in is significant this year. it would then be another 1.3 that we're not getting on top of what is going now. So it would have been, it's a big financial commitment from me to underpin that, because it's got to be underpinned. So that's where we've changed from the rolling 1-year deals and people can come and take our players, to doing the likes of your Pepe for 3 years. There's another key player being announced that's in our squad that's going 3 years, and actually building something together that will be together for a period, because I think that's what you need to win something. Like Saints, where you guys are from, you don't have massive changes, and they just keep adding to, and look at the success. So that's the big thing. And then, because I firmly believe if Leigh can back up a year of staying up, which we've never done, we didn't finish bottom of the year. Dukes was coach in 17, but we lost in the playoffs in the middle eights. But if we could just back it up and stay up a year, I believe that club can grow and compete up with your Saints and your Wiggins and the likes.
It's really interesting, Derek. I like what you're saying, because you give a lot of thought there to the fact that many of the clubs in a similar position to Leigh in the past have had those short-term deals, or they've had longer-term deals for some players, but the players who can get you into Super League or keep you there, it's very difficult to recruit them and difficult to keep them, because other clubs are always after snatching them. So it sounds like there's a slight business model change to how you're approaching it, where you're looking to try and sign those top players into slightly longer deals to give you more confidence if you go up, and hopefully you will, help you attract other good players. Is that kind of what, has that been a conscious plan to do that?
That's exactly what it is. I mean, when I've got Adrian to come to the club, which is a big, it's a big part of what's happening here. You get Chesney in there, you get Adrian in there. Club is doing a great job. PJ, Cardio, there's a real good back room, and it's professional, but it's also fun. So, when I sat down with Adrian, he's like about coming to my club. He's a proud guy, he's a professional guy, he's a talented guy. He's played at the highest level. He's the assistant coach at Australia. He's got a big reputation. So he doesn't want to come to a club that's going to all fall apart. You know what I mean? He's got to be careful about the decisions he makes. So me and him chatting about what I wanted to get from him and where I saw my club going and what we want to achieve was a big part of why he decided to come. And likewise with Chesney. Chesney had Super League offers to stay within coaching, but it was let's go and be part of this and build it. So those are the two key things to start the process of influencing them. And that was with Adrian, it was no secret, he would want to finish his career back in the NRL as an head coach. I'm sure of that. I know that, but he also is on this journey that we're doing. And part of that was that we would get in the top 6 and in the playoffs, and then within 3 years, and then within 5 be in a final or a grand final or a Challenge Cup final and be competing to win. So that process obviously needs planning and needs the recruiting and needs getting me into the meetings with the quality that of the team is. We've got a lot of that here now. We don't need massive changes, but it's just adding those refinements, and that needs doing to keep Adrian in there and keep the promise of what we've made and what we're building and what we're doing. So we've had to go with that model. Now, you can try and protect yourselves, and we kind of devised a legal clause whereby if we didn't get promoted into Super League, then the contract can be renegotiated or whatever. But you're never going to get players to sign a contract that doesn't become a contract if you don't get promoted, because you just end up at they know as well as I know nothing's for sure. You might think that they're likely to get it.
They end up signing on a promissory note, then, don't they?
It's not worth anything to them, It's like going into my local shop here with £100 Scottish note. Customer paid us with it. Like, you might as well have a piece of A4 paper, mate. You're not going to get anything with that. And it's understandable, because the players have got to look after themselves. So someone like Edwin, a key part is Adrian Lamb, obviously, and the PNG thing. But he also wants to play rugby at the highest level. All players want to play at the best of their ability and try and play in finals and win things. And, you know, we lost James Bell to St. Helens last year. You know, even though we actually offered him a better term, that was, you know, St. Helens is St. Helens. He wants to try and play in finals. And you understand it and you accept it, and there's no animosity. It's just business. So with people, you know, like Edwin and everybody, it's just selling them the vision that if it isn't this year, then it definitely is going to be next year, because we're establishing a top 6 Super League side. Yeah. And if it ends up in the Championship, it's going to be when we come out. And the boys are buying into that because of how Adrian is, because of how Chesney is, Clubby is, myself is, how the environment is. And you only have to look at, you know, the scenes when we won that 1895 Cup. You can see in the players their joy for Lammy, for me, for Chesney, for Dukesy, that they're genuinely all smiling when we got hold of the trophy.
Yeah. I mean, you've built an ethos of sustainability, or you're building that ethos of sustainability, and that will pay dividend for you, I think, Derek, because like you said, you'll get that loyalty and that hard work from your players, from your staff, because that vision is there, and that, you know, you're very passionate and you know where you want that club to go, you know where it could go. And, you know, me growing up with Rugby League, Leigh should be in the Super League. You know, that's the rightful place. They should be there. And I think Widnes should be back as well. You know, it's so many years as part of that culture. Yeah.
I mean, one of the things, at the end of the day, it's money. And I'm fortunate enough that I mean, there's other people out there that have money, but is it daft what I do with it? But I had that issue in January in South Africa with the anaphylactic shock, and just, you know, medically, like, it's just unbelievable that I'm actually still here now. Within 24 hours of that, if it's all dealt with quickly, you're 100% recovered, and nothing's a problem other than if it happens again and you carry pens with you. But most people that endure that don't get through it. It's like a 20-25 minute window, and it doesn't get the out quick enough, and it's gone. And I had a lot of reflection back on that, because as you can imagine, you know, going through that experience and almost actually accepting death basically is what happened. And I look back at that. I remember getting home and opening the door, and there's a daft cushion what the kids got me for Father's Day one time with my face on it. And it was like, God, imagine if that was the first thing they saw. And then I started thinking about, you know, I don't have a will and different things like that, and the mess that would have been left behind. And obviously that brought to me to thinking about the rugby. And I was like, well, you know, what have I, apart from some great memories and meeting my wife in it, what have I actually got to show for the money that wouldn't be left to my kids and family that's gone into that, which is significant? And the answer would be nothing, because it would be, without continuing funding it, it would be back where exactly it was when I found it in 2013, where, you know, my wife would have looked after it properly, but then put it in the pram, if you will. Yeah. And that would have been that, and it would have been back to where it was. So nothing would have really been gained for the money. So that's why a big part of where I thought, you know, you just end your days with less in the bank. It's more important to me what that town gets out of its rugby club, what that rugby club does for the community. The amount of people that it puts a smile on the face of, gives them something to look forward to. It is sustainable in its own right in Super League. We found that out in 2017. Spent the full cap and made $6,000 profit in a great stadium that is expensive to be in, but you get what you pay for. So that's why I'm adamant on getting it there. Now, if it means that, you know, what anybody can go on Company's House and see what kind of money we make a year. If it means that what this business makes in a full year next year goes to prop up Leigh, because we didn't get in Super League at the end of this year, and a third of what we've made's gone into it this year, then so be it. It's 2 years out of my, you know what I mean? Like, but then it achieves something that then when my day does come, I can look back and see that Leigh's a sustainable Super League club, that is different. So that money has changed something in that time and been worthwhile, and everyone can be proud of. So that was a big factor, what happened to me then, in committing the money.
I didn't know about that, Derek. Sorry to hear about that experience, and thanks for sharing it. It sounds though that's changed your focus a little bit and made you consider how you measure what output you're getting for all that input, all those resources, most of which is your time and the money, really. So your measures are slightly different possibly than they were before, and you're looking for something more sustainable and in Super League.
Yeah, absolutely, and befitting for the town and the stadium that it is. And I think it's an important time as well for the sport, with the the realignment back with the RFL is a positive and a good thing. The coverage that we're getting on sort of like Channel 4, the strategic partnership with IMG, Premier Sports back involved with the Championship. What a great advert that game was, Leigh and Fev on. I don't know if you saw it on the Monday. Yeah. It was a fantastic game. We won fine, but anybody watching that as a non-Leigh fan or a non-Fev fan, like I watch Super League games, that was a great game of rugby to watch and a great advert for the game. So we've got to keep pushing and keep working hard and keep striving to get where we are, because I genuinely think LSV, when Saints came in 17, they brought 3,500 with them, and we had just shy of 10,000 on early part of the season, and we won. Which was great. You get relegated in the season when you beat Wigan at home, Warrington at home, St Helens at home. But that when you look back on those things, it's what inspires you to know it can be done.
Yeah, I guess you've learned, so that the team have learned from that experience, and maybe be a bit more aware of those things in future, because you beat all the top clubs there, so you must have dropped points elsewhere, and you can maybe look at how you can tighten up where those points were lost a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fascinating. You've brought up so much, sir, that I didn't realise. I thought I knew what kind of answer you've given, but you've given an insight there that I've found fascinating.
I just want to touch on it there, because you said, and that was quite a powerful statement, you accepted death at that stage. What's that like? What goes on there?
It's funny, when I was younger, I always said I'll be a millionaire when I'm 40, but I'll be dead when I'm 50. And when I turned 50, I'm 51 now, so I think I've cleared it, but I just had so many near misses on me, push bike on the road, various things, and I thought, I achieved that first part, and I've kind of wrote my own destiny here, and it's going to be happening. Yeah, I was like, what's this about? And then when that happened to me in South Africa, basically I'd gone for a walk within what's called a safe area, so the electric fences inside from the lodge that we were staying in. Mrs. and kids and our friends who was with us was around the pool. Trooper told me the missus had just had some crosswords, can happen over something. I thought I'll go and having a walk, clear my head, grabbed 4 bottles of beer, and hadn't had any other booze before that, next a bit of water, and went off walking. And then I ended up stumbling in standing in a wasp nest, which you wouldn't ordinarily, I wouldn't associate with being on the floor. It was within this rocky area, and they just started whacking me. So I was like, managed to run out of them. And then my eyes started to swell and itch. Now, this is the lucky bit, because we do a lot of conservation with rhinos when we're out there, and other animals. But so the vet always explains to us, if we come in contact with the dart, some people can have an allergic reaction to the medicine, in humans more so. And if you do, this is what happens. This is the process. And basically your eyes go, then your mouth and your throat, and it's like your airways are closing. Then it's like someone standing on your chest, and you'll just pass out. And basically you're going to die in about 25 minutes from it happening if you've not got urgent medical assistance. So and he tells you that, but he says, I'm here for at least half an hour after this process has gone, and I have the medicine if that happened. But these are the warning signs that you let us know, because the earlier you let us know, the better. So when this happened with my eyes, I messaged the ranger and I said, mate, is there something out here that can sting you and cause this allergic reaction? He didn't answer. So I'm swiping the WhatsApp back because now my mouth's going. So when I look back over the texts for the timeline, it all felt like longer, but it wasn't. It was like 2 minutes between the first and second message. And he hadn't read that. So when I swiped, he still hadn't read the first message. So I knew now what was happening, and I knew how long I'd got. And I was about 800 meters or more from where everybody was. So I tried ringing my wife, no answer. I tried ringing the ranger, no answer. But he would have been sleeping between morning and afternoon drives. I knew the missus and kids and everybody was all around the pool, and I've got the phones with them. And I thought, wow, my only chance is I've got to get back. I've got somewhere to get back, and I'm not, can't run. It's red hot as well. So I'm walking fast, and then as I'm going, I'm realising my breathing's now going, but I'm also making that worse because I'm trying to go. And then I went blinded by light, not darkness, bright light, couldn't see. And I collapsed. I couldn't get up. Every time I tried to get up, it collapsed. So I was trying to crawl. And then I just had a moment where I was like, stop what you're doing. You're never going to crawl that far. You need to, and I pulled myself towards like the side of the road to a tree, like a bit shaded. Grabbed a beer, and I was like, feel all dry and struggling. And I had one of these beers and drank like some of that. And I thought the only thing can save me my phone, but I couldn't function my phone. So I could vaguely see a bit now, but I couldn't function because I'd stopped and I was trying to calm down and shallow my breathing. And I couldn't operate my phone. I was trying to send a message to my missus and kids because all that was bothered, I knew I was done. And I'm in a game reserve, so there's no paramedics close by. You've got 25 minutes, there's probably 10 gone already. So all I thought I could achieve was get back to them so that they would be with me when it happened and they'd know what had happened and they wouldn't just drive out later and find me at the side of the road. So I was trying to type a message to them. I couldn't, it was just gobbledygook. So then I started shouting. So I got my phone, I was trying to still operate it. And I was trying to just shouting, help, urgent medical help, turn right when you come out. And luckily, my wife had felt something strange and gone and got a phone to come find my iPhone, seen my missed call, and she texted me and said, have you pocket rang me? I could just hear heavy breathing. But that's when I've rang her and I'm trying to get back. And somehow when I'm trying to do whatever I'm trying to do on my phone, typing, I've answered ringing me, but I don't know I've done that. And I'm just shouting and she's heard this. And then eventually the ranger, the tracker jumped out on the vehicle. He was there, the ranger was still in his room and she ran through and he drove out and I just heard the sound of a car and I thought, oh, thank God someone's coming. You know, I'm going to get seen, but I couldn't get up or anything. And this guy managed to get me in the Jeep. And then as he was driving back, our friends, the lady, her daughter has a nut allergist, so they have EpiPens and strong antihistamines. And one of the big factors was she shoved 2 of these strong antihistamines down my throat because that's what she has to do with the daughter, is give her them first, and then if it doesn't improve, use the EpiPens. Mine's different, mine's just straight to them now. But they reckon that will have had some assistance in what went on. Unfortunately for me, the paramedic had been rang as soon as my wife had gone in there, and he was not too far away in the reserve, so he could be 2 hours away. So they called her ambulance as well, but he got there rapid. I passed out, and people say this and you think it's a load of nonsense, but I swear down it's what happens, or what happened for me. I was in like a golden, dreamy delirious, almost like druggy, nice, feel cloudy type thing. And there's just 4 faces, just heads, not bodies, just heads in the distance that were getting bigger coming towards is what I remember. And then the next thing, they chucked ice over me. They'd got me out the vehicle, I'd gone unconscious, and they chucked ice and stuff over me and waited me to bring me round, wake me up. And then I saw real faces and I was like, what's going on? And then I realized what it was again. The paramedic, they had the blood oxygen thing on my finger, and he was like, you've got to breathe. I was just desperate to drink water and stuff. And when the paramedic got there, obviously he just whacked me straight with the adrenaline and the steroids and all these things, and got me intravenous, got all the heart monitors on, got the oxygen in. My blood pressure was 62/30, which didn't mean anything to me. But when I got home and showed all the records to my doctor, it was like, wow. My blood ox was 71. And then I started to get a little bit better. And then I relapsed, which is common. And the paramedic, I've been and seen him a few times since, he definitely thought that was the end of that. And somehow it all went okay. I managed to come back round and live to tell another day. But I was just happy to have got picked up and been with them. And the funny part is, the elder of me, my middle child, if you will, Ryan, he's 20 now. He's wherever in his room, as they do on the phones. And my youngest boy, Rocky, who's 12, he's gone running into him and said, Ryan, my dad's just come back. Boykie's brought him back. He's foaming at the mouth. All his knees are bleeding, and he's slurring and he can't talk. And Ryan said to him, oh, he's probably pissed. I need to have a look at myself if my kids think that. But yeah, it was weird, because I actually just sat at the side of that road and said, well, you were right, you idiot. You're gone at 50. And and I remember thinking, your eulogy's going to be good, isn't it, mate? You're out here with all these lions and leopards, and you've been done by a 1-inch wasp. That was my final thoughts on it. You know what, mate? You accept it. It really helped me, because I struggled like hell with me old man passing away, being told he'd got 2 weeks with cancer, and he lasted 2 days 2 years ago, just last Thursday as it happens. And then my mate who was with us there, his dad, from being fit, his 70s, got told he'd have 4 months and lasted 4 weeks. And it wrecked my head trying to understand how they mentally dealt with that, because I don't know, dear. But then when that happened to me, I actually realised that you just accept it. There's nothing you can do about it, and it's not actually scary. You just accept that, well, that's it.
How important that you had that information about the rhinos to actually process, to give you that presence of mind to at least try and get somewhere straight away. Anybody else, like you said, they'd have probably just panicked, stressed about it, got themselves in a worse condition, and not made it to be able to get help. So
that's why most people don't make it, because they don't know. So sadly, the previous one that paramedic had in the game reserve was a food-related one, a 12-year-old child, the same age as my youngest boy, and he didn't make it because they didn't realise how serious what it was. And then by the time they did and called the help, when he got there, it was just too late. So that was significant, that I knew immediately with my eyes, and I was trying to get the help, and then knew to just calm down and what was going on. And fortunate that Claire had the antihistamines, because he reckoned that bought more minutes. Because your body actually reacts in a way to help itself that kills itself is what actually happens. So the first, it's not the first time you come into contact with the substance. So the first time I didn't think about it at the time, I got stung by one. You probably see on here, this muscle's still paralyzed from it, and there's like a dot ear still from a big sting. There was others, but they go like a jackhammer, this type of wasp. They don't just sting you once. They keep going. And he reckons that one possibly went into a small vein, so it was like intravenous. The previous time I got stung, the same place, massive redness in Spain where they have the same wasps. My mum lives out there. And I just put my arm on a lilo and there was a wasp on it. So it stung me. I had this big reaction. So then what happens is the next time your body comes into contact with that, because it's had such a big reaction to it, it overreacts to sort that out. And that's what basically shuts you down. And
the overreaction. Almost like autoimmune disorders, they work in a similar way, I believe.
So there's lots of, bizarrely enough, I think there's about 80 people a year die from being wasp stings.
Crazy, isn't it?
You just wouldn't really think that, would you? You just wouldn't think. Well, I've got a load of tough questions for you, Derek. I don't feel like asking.
Go on,
he can handle anything now.
Yeah, say nothing now.
He's having the big man. He's on his side. He's uncomfortable, this guy.
I'm going the bookies now, putting money on Leigh for everything.
I was saying to Andy Maisie, who was on last week, I'm glad we don't have to play them. Like, there's something scary about the Hornets now.
yeah, he'll play on that. Definitely. Well, we've lots more we want to cover in other episodes, Derek. You've been very, very kind in sharing a lot about yourself personally, your personal experiences, and an insight into being a chairman. And I like the fact that, you know, it is you, it's your personality that comes through in the job, in your role. It's not chairman, is it? Sorry. In what title? Owner, is that the correct title?
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
And you know, these big organisations, there are people who run the mountains, there are personalities that filter throughout that. So thank you very much for sharing that with us, Derek.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Dockhouse Rugby Show. If you've liked what you've seen today, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a like.